Welcome back to Missions in the Modern Day. My name is Randy Bohlender, and I have hit the podcast motherlode today. I'm very excited. When you do a podcast, what you hope for is an interesting person with a great story and a beautiful outcome. We have all three of that today. Welcome to the podcast, Georgian Banov. Georgian, we are so glad to have you.
Thank you very much. Great to be here. Looking forward to this.
Now, I've been looking over your book, Joy, God's Secret Weapon for Every Believer. And boy, what a time when people in the world need more joy. Backing up into your story a little bit, you grew up in communist Bulgaria. What can you tell us about growing up there?
Well, everything that you might have read about communism and more is true. It's very anti-Christ spirit, anti-God, ultimately, because the author of communism is Karl Marx, and he was just hated God. I don't know what happened. It was a Jewish kid. They grew up in, I think, Lutheran church or something, and got a bitter toward God, and he poured his bitterness toward people, and in the system he created. It's called communism now, and it sounded like a socialism, communism, kind of economical system, but it's actually is religious, anti God system. So parents lose their right to speak whatever they want to speak to their children, to train them. They have to comply completely 100% to the communist philosophy, propaganda, and so forth. So I grew up in a very, like, I don't know where I come from. Like, parents don't say nothing about our past, nothing. And fear, and very atheistic, obviously. So Sunday was my worst days of the week because it's so quiet and so eerie and so like, what's going on? And no explanation of anything to do with life and God and stuff. So it's like during the week you get busy and stuff. But so, anyways, Lenin was supposed to be my daddy. That's how they train us. I did not like Lenin at all, but I heard about another Lenin, John Lennon, and I go, oh, I like this Lenin better. So me and three boys started the first official rock band in Bulgaria, and that was our way of fighting for our own identity, having some sort of identity outside this weird communism. And so that's how I transitioned into like my teenage years was with forming the rock and roll music in Bulgaria.
And how was that responded to?
Well, at first we were more Beatle-ish, kind of more sweeter. Eventually, we got more into the Rolling Stone and more of the Led Zeppelin eventually. So the hard rock start to hit, and that's when they realized, oh, these guys are dangerous. Even they try to tone us down in many, many ways, including having a communist uh, member in our studio controlling, like the drums were considered too much. So they always would I was the drummer, so they always put the drums lower because we wanted to be. I mean, it's crazy, everything that they try to do to make us conform. And eventually they realized that it's impossible because they put us on national television at the time, one channel. That made us explode, and that became a threat to them. So they shut us down publicly. But that helped me think, I want to get out of here. I want to escape. I want
There
to
was a
get out.
different life available. How did you
Oh
finally
yeah.
escape?
Sorry.
How did you finally escape from Bulgaria?
Yeah, it was very, very, very crazy thing. Very very dangerous, really very dangerous. People lost their lives trying to escape illegally. We managed. I mean, you see how God was in helping us, although we didn't know God. But we found through series of events, spontaneous events, seemingly a Polish black marketer who was actually Bulgarian, spoke Bulgarian, heard us talk in Poland and tracked us. It was amazing, and he smuggled us without knowing that that's what he's doing. We made a fictitious deal with him, like because he had enough money. He knew who we were. We were popular, and we had the money. So we kind of made a deal, like we're gonna go and come back, and part of his black market thing, but it wasn't. It was just our way to get out, and he succeeded. So he crossed the successfully.
And you got out from Bulgaria initially to where?
Well, from Bulgaria, I got out to Berlin, East Berlin, the communist side. That's where the whole escape developed, because when you're behind the curtain in Bulgaria, I mean, you can't even come close to the border, like 50 miles or even more. It's just like you can't go there. So there was no understanding how to do it. So when I went to Berlin, uh, I to do some business for my mom, arts and things like that, and I saw the west side was like fully colored versus black and white. I mean, in a sense, you could see, and we were, me and this rock and roll buddy, we saw on top of a restaurant that you could see over, and we going, that's where I want to go. I don't want to just come to Berlin. He offered me a contract with the East Berlin band, and that was okay, but I wasn't so interested in that. But I was interested if I could come here and we could start working on getting over there. And that's how, once you see it, that's it. So they came back home, got my visas and stuff. Nobody knew what I'm planning, but I mean, mom, of course, best friends did not know, because you get them in trouble if they knew that you're really planning to escape. So the stage one was the East Berlin. They're working with this East Berlin club band, and we gather all the information, exactly what to do somehow. And all these plans collapsed. But then in Poland, we found this Polish black market who ended up willing to do this business with us, go back and forth. Of course, it was one way.
And so you went then to Poland and then to the US, or did you go directly to the US from Berlin?
Well, no, from Poland. Poland is communist. So from Poland, we went through different routes, eventually into Vienna, into Austria. Austria is a neutral zone where you could find asylum, but you have to find a country that wants to welcome you. So we crossed there into Austria, and then the Austrians gave us chance to go to different embassies, and no embassy wanted to have us except the American, which was scary for us, because America was painted in our minds as the worst. It's the number one enemy of Russia, obviously. So everything is bad, and so we're like, well, we have no choice. But amazing story. When we got to the embassy, after every other embassy said no, we finally get to America. We have to go somewhere. And when the soldier that was guarding the embassy found out roughly how we made it, he says, what are you doing here? How did you get here? So we said, well, we escaped. And they go, okay, so hold on. And so he brought us in to the ambassador, or rather the consulate, one of the officials of the government. And so he says, tell me your story. So we did. And this consulate stood, I feel like crying even now, open arms. Welcome home, boys. Welcome home. Welcome to America. You're the kind that this country is about. So welcome. I mean, it was like, I was like, what? Like the enemy, so to speak. But now he's just lovingly opened his arms physically and to welcome us. And like, wow.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
So when you came to the US, did you come to New York City originally?
Yeah. First we flew to New York, only to get processed and this organization that, like, it's called Tolstoy. It's an old Russian king's money kind of thing. Tolstoy's money, that were helping immigrants to find a job. And that's pretty much. And so they got us a job, and then we started our work in America.
Emotionally, when you land and you get a firsthand look at who had been an enemy to you and suddenly you realized was a friend, what was going on in your heart at that point?
Oh, this major transformation, not spiritual as much as soulish and emotional and social in every way. Like, what, all these cultures and freedom, and you walk around and nobody cares what you're doing or anything. And it was just amazing seeing the police. For us, police are very dangerous, because they're communists, so they could do whatever they want to you, anything, and it's nobody was gonna. So we avoided police, especially at nighttime. We avoided walking by police, so we avoided. oh, we acted like we're drunk. And if you're drunk, the police go, oh, he's okay. You know,
Mhm.
that vodka was a big usage to get the man, especially seduced and drunk. You know, it
Mhm.
was the cheapest. It's cheaper than bread, and vodka was the cheapest. So that you have something in your belly and you get you drunk. But police here were friendly, and in fact, you'll find this funny, but I would bump into a policeman just to test it, and they go, "Oh, it's okay," you know. And I go, "Wow, you bump into a Bulgarian police, man, you're in big trouble."
Very different reaction.
Very different reaction. Also, the culture, seeing Black people for the first time, like taxi drivers or whatever in New York, and I'm going, wow, look at these cool guys. They like stretch, very relaxed. I just love the cultures, learning about culture. And the biggest shock was when I went to the first big grocery store. That was after we moved to Florida and got the first job, and the first paycheck, we go to the supermarket, you know, like you know, whatever it was named, Albertsons, whatever. Wow. Safeway, actually. I mean, a warehouse where you put airplanes, in my mind, that big. It's nothing but food. I mean, I was like completely overwhelmed.
And you had
Complete.
choices that you didn't ever have before.
Not only that, but the abundance. Yes, of course, choices, millions of choices, and lots of it. And it's like our stores are tiny, small, and the neighborhood has this little store, and there was no refrigerators. I've never seen refrigerators because there's really nothing to refrigerate. We buy stuff as it comes, especially meat, cheese, all this good stuff. You buy it, and there's maybe left only some canned food and stuff, but there's nothing to refrigerate.
Mm,
Imagine the shortage is always so big,
right.
and pretty much empty. Now all these mega massive things filled with nothing but food. And I'm like, wow, it was so amazing.